Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and I wanted to show you how you can easily and pretty quickly change the headlights in your BMW E39 5 Series, or in this case, this gorgeous M5. All right, so there are a lot of E39s still out there on the road. And then you have this unbelievable example of an E39 M5, which is actually a model year 2000 and has 22,000 miles on the car. It is an absolute unicorn. It's just amazing. But the one thing the owner would like to do is refresh the headlights a little bit. And there's some really great options out there to bring a little more modern headlights and halos and the rest to your car. And you can do this pretty straightforward, pretty simply with only a few tools. It's not as hard as you'd think. So let's show you how you do it, and I'll walk you through the whole process. So now this particular car is an absolute exception because at this age, these are the original headlights. They should be frosted over and look like milkshake, and they still look absolutely perfect. I don't know what the owner's going to do with them, but I'd put them up and sell them because they're in perfect condition. It's really kind of amazing, honestly. In most cases, like my E53 X5, which is built very similarly to this E39, I replaced the headlights and mine were really badly clouded over. So those are the originals. Now I've already done one side because I kind of wanted to give you a hint of a little bit of the before and after. So here's what we're going to end up looking at. We've got a little bit of reflection off my light right at the moment, but as you can see, much more modern, includes modern halos, and quite a huge upgrade. Now, if you're looking to just replace yours with similar to OEM, to get rid of the cloudy or to do the upgrade or do the full upgrade like these, this is not all that hard of a project and really simple, and I can walk you through it. Okay, so I think you're going to be very surprised on how easily these headlights come out. There's only 4 bolts and 3 plugs really that are all just keeping it in place. So you've got these 8mm right here at the top, here and here. Now make sure to set those aside in a different spot because you're going to reuse these, and they're different from the lower ones that we're going to take out here in just a second. But the rest, if you look down right here past the blue plug, straight down underneath on a horizontal plate, is an 8mm bolt, and then right here between the box and the bulb assembly right here, straight down past the brown and yellow wire. It's a little hard to see. It's easy to see with my eye, candidly. Right down right there is the other one. So take those 4 bolts out, undo the plugs, and it's your typical BMW, press on the tab and then wiggle the plug, and then the plug comes off just like that. So take those out. The big plug right here you don't have to take out because that's part of this big box, and this is going to come out with a whole assembly that we're going to transfer to the new headlights. So go ahead and do all of that, and then very gently slide the whole assembly forward. You're going to get the headlight out, you're going to get that rear box that comes with it, and then you're going to have a trim piece that goes underneath the headlight that we're going to transfer to the new one. But we'll deal with that once it's out. Okay, so there's really only one thing you need to transfer, and that would be the controller box for your primary headlight. So you can unplug it at this point by just turning and twisting the plug, and you can do this at your workbench. I'm just going to do it sitting here in front of the car. Not a big deal. The cable comes out of all these little holders, and then this is a T20 that holds this bracket in place. So go ahead and just take that off, and then take the bracket off, and then you can just pull the box right out. Okay, so at this point we're going to transfer it to the new one. So let's go ahead and grab the new headlights, and we'll look to transfer this in place. All right, so now that that's off, we can transfer it, but there's a couple of things we want to do first. So there's a lower bracket right here with 2 8mm bolts that hold it in place, and this has a new bracket on it. So, and it comes with it. So we're going to want to undo the 2 8mm here to take this bracket off, which are the equivalent of those low 8mm we took off a second ago. So take off the 2 here and here to pull this bracket out, the original OEM bracket. Pull the 2 bolts off here and replace it right back into place from the OEM one. So go ahead and transfer the bracket off the new headlight here, okay? And then what you want to do is undo your bracket clip right here, and we're going to put the xenon controller box on the new headlight. So this is another T20 that'll take this off. So go ahead and do that. Do the bolts here, put the new bracket into place, and you're almost done. Okay, so once you transfer that base plate from the new headlight and the xenon controller from the old headlight, which is this one, to the new headlight. The other thing you're going to want to transfer is this trim piece underneath. So it basically just hooks onto the bottom, and it has a rubber gasket on it as well. Now it does have a locking tab, and this would be on the kidney grill side of both of these headlights. There's a little locking tab right here that you're going to want to depress as you get this out. So don't break this. That would be a huge drag to have this trim piece not fit properly anymore. So what I usually do is I'll use like a little flat bladed screwdriver, press down on this and get this little locking tab to come out, and then it'll come right off. And we're going to put this back on once the new headlight is in place, because you have to fit this back in place with the headlight in place. So, but don't forget to take this off. I also use this opportunity to kind of wipe down all these spaces. I never can get into these nooks and crannies, you know, when my headlights are on. So go ahead and do that. And we're going to be looking to fit the new headlight in. All right, so now that the light is out and you've got that new bottom tray from the new headlight in, let's talk about a couple of the changes that we need to make here really quickly. And I'll walk you through them because I couldn't find a good description of really any of it myself, and I want to make sure that you have this as well if you're doing the same work. Now, there's a lot of different options of what you can and cannot do, whether your lights have halos, whether it's a pre-LCI or LCI, existing halos, so on, so on, so on. So I'll try to talk through that as much as I can. This is a pre-LCI car, so no halos, adding in bi-xenons with halos. So the one thing that you don't have is you don't have a power feed for halos, and you need to add that. In addition, the corner marker, the existing pre-LCI plug, has a 3 power run, ground, and 2 different power runs because it depends on how the hazards and your light and your turn signals blink in the original pre-LCI. The new ones are just 2. So in the video description will be 2 part numbers, one for 2 adapters, one for the corner and one for your halos, depending on if you're coming from an LCI car. But let's talk about the corner marker first. Now, if you have a pre-LCI car, you don't have halo power. So you have an adapter that we're going to use, and this is the adapter that you buy. It's an OEM adapter that you buy to convert your marker light, your corner light, appropriately. Now, the good news is it's also a fantastic place to source power and ground for your halos if you didn't have them before. But what you need to do is you need to get the correct power. Ground from anywhere is fine, but you need to get the correct power so the halos come on when your headlights come on. So in this case, with this adapter, that it converts a 3 run to a 2 run, the 3rd run in the center, which is no longer used, is just a loop back. It's also a perfect place to put in a tap to get the correct power to power the halos. So the other thing that this will do in this car, and this is such an amazing unicorn, incredible car, that doing a conversion like this, sure, could you tap the original plug up here? Could you get ground off the brown, and you'd want to tap the middle wire on both sides? You'd want to hit the middle wire if you want to tap directly off the plug itself. I didn't want to do that because this car, who knows, maybe it'll go back to completely stock, and it has so few miles and is such an amazing trophy car that it wouldn't surprise me someday that it might. So the last thing I want to do is tap the original wires and leave this behind. If I tap a $6 or $7 part, this could just come out later and this will look like just like factory and original. Okay, so here's what we talked about, the couple of adapters that we have. So here's the first adapter you're going to get for the marker. Now the second adapter, if you are an LCI car already and have the original halos, which has a different style plug, and you're plugging into the new style and the new headlights. So you'll need this adapter if you have an LCI car to plug your existing halos in to the new halo plug. Now in this case, and this I'd be using this if that was the case. But in addition, so if you're just wondering about all the extra wiring I've got here, in addition, we also have an LED halo light, which makes it, instead of the kind of that yellowy halo, it makes it that brilliant white of the modern cars. And it has its own plug here as well. So I've tapped into this to provide power and ground out to the halos. Here's the other end that will plug in at the halos themselves. And you tap in exactly the same, and then this will plug into the new LED bulb. Now, I really like these kind of splice taps. Now, I left this one open so you can see it. You feed in the line on one side that you're using. You feed in the line that you're tapping, your branching line on the other. And then you take a pair of pliers and press down this locking plate. It pierces through the cover of the wire, locks them in nice and tight. I always pull on my spliced wire to make sure that it's in. And then you just lock this cover down. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of electrical tape, and I'm going to wrap all this up so it looks good and it's all nice and intact. And then my splices here are probably about 8 inches to get from the corner here up to the top right here where the halo is. It's probably a little bit of extra wire, but it's not bad. Okay, so I wanted, before I wrapped this all up and made it look all nice, neat, and clean and protected it with a little bit of electrical tape, I wanted to make sure you could see it, and this made sense. You need a Y, or a branch, to get power to your halos if you're coming from a pre-LCI car. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's as useful and helpful as possible. I had a hard time trying to figure out all of this information, and I couldn't find one single clean source. So if I can be that for you and help, that's great. Okay, so in your adapter, for the corner lights, you use brown for ground. In BMWs, brown is almost always ground, and blue is almost always power. There's variations. Use in your adapter, use the loop back center power line to tap. Okay, and then your halos will turn on when you turn your headlights into running, or into running light mode or full headlight mode. Your halos will turn on. All right, so the headlight, it just slides back into place, and I actually prefer to put the lower trim on after, because with the trim on, you have to kind of rock it and tip it into place, which is harder to do with the way the trim hinges on this side. You have to hook it in on this side, and then it pins in on this side. So I find the headlights are much easier just to slide into place when you're done. So obviously you can tell it's in, it's not bolted in yet or anything. I don't put the screws in until the trim is on, because this gives me a little bit of ability to lift it a little bit, which is easier to get the trim to slide under the headlight assembly. Now, and again, I'm using these aftermarket LED bulbs for the halos, which I highly recommend, and I will have those listed in the description. I don't see the reason to put in these headlights and then have kind of those sickly yellow factory halo bulbs. So I really like these Umnitza LED bulbs. They work really, really well, which is why I'm using this plug as well. Obviously, I've fed this up now. I probably have a little too much wire here. Like I said, it's probably 8 inches or so. You could have been less, but that's okay. This gives me the ability to tuck it back in a way and have it out of the way. But I left this pulled up so you can see how it loops up from the marker light. I have it up to the adapter here. I have it tapped into the adapter with its probably resistor or transformer, or whatever the heck that thing is. And then it comes down and ties into the LED here. I've got everything else all plugged in. So really the only remaining steps that you need to do are swing the trim back into place. I find, like I mentioned a second ago, make sure that rubber gasket is on it, and then you hook it in this end and then slowly feed it underneath the headlight, under these little plastic tabs, and then into the little hook receptacle right here. Be careful when you do it. You don't want to scratch up your bumper or anything. Once that's done, you put your 2 top shorter headlight bolts in here and here. You put the 2 lower ones in. And if you haven't done the other side, then go and do the other side. I've done both sides now. It looks great. I'll show you what it looks like when it's all wrapped up, but you're pretty much done at this point. Also make sure to tuck this away in a good, neat, clean place so you've got a clean install. Test all of your functionality, make sure it works, make sure your blinkers are working, everything else is working, that the halos turn on. And in this car, the halos will turn on when the running lights are on or the headlights are on, because of the way we tap power. All right, so the grand reveal looks so good and such an improvement over what was there before. Now, the crazy thing is that this car has so few miles on it and it's been so well maintained that the existing OEM headlights were really in fantastic shape. They look almost new, but they look old, and from the design, and especially with the new halos as well. So this not only brings the LCI style headlights to this car, but brings halos, and with the LED halo light, it brings white halos to really refresh the whole front end look. So looks absolutely fantastic. Test everything, make sure it works, but pretty much at this point it's all buttoned up and it's ready to go. Looks great, and what a fantastic project. All right, so all done. So go ahead and clean up, put all your tools away. But as long as you plugged everything back in where it's supposed to be, you really should not have any problems doing a check on your lights. Make sure all your blinkers work, everything works. But you should be fine. And man, it makes a huge difference. It really does, doing a refresh like this. Like I mentioned earlier, especially if your headlights are clouded over or, look like milkshakes. it can be a safety issue, it can be an appearance issue, it can be a lot of different things, and it's really easy to take care of. It's not cheap to buy these headlights, but it is very easy to do, and you can make this huge difference and you can make this improvement in your car, especially if you have a little bit older car. In something like this that is so unbelievable, I mean, this is a unicorn M5, it really is. It's the sort of thing you'd see on like Bring a Trailer. It's amazing, and I love being able to work with this car. So you can do this without really too much trouble and some few simple tools. Everything you need will be listed in the description below. Please make sure to click subscribe and the little alarm bell. It makes a huge difference to my channel. I have a ton of content always on the way from everything, and you never know, like an E39 M5. But make sure to check it out. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on my next project.